Right, gang, I hope this finds everybody well. Today what I'm going to be going over is we're about to do the 3 Peaks Challenge in the UK, which is basically with the aim within 24 hours, scale Ben Nevis, drive to Scafell in the Lake District, do that, and then get down and we're doing Llanberis onto Snowdon, all 3 of the biggest, highest peaks in the UK. The team are incoming. What I thought I'd do is I'll go over my kit. Seasonality of this is very different. We're doing this in the summer, so I'll talk about that afterwards. It's actually going to be medium tomorrow, but then Sunday apparently it's going to be absolutely boiling, so I've got a kind of pack for everything. I'm going to run you through this in 3 different sections, more around fuel, bits and bobs that I'm going to be taking, what clothes I'm going to wear, and more from a point of what you should be considering when you're doing it. Number one thing whenever you're doing this is I'll start with this caveat, because most people, if you are going to stay on here, is recognise that this is probably the most important piece of your kit as well as your gear. Most people go up there on the mountain, they haven't got any form of first aid kit. It seems very, very small, but everything you do up there is like a slow puncture. Blisters, small little trip, cuts, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to have anything that's going to actually cause any negative feedback whilst you're on the mountain, because this is going to take, I mean, from numbers, they're talking 5 to 6 hours for Nevis. We're talking about 4 to 5 for Scafell and 4 for Llanberis. It's very much a case if you want to make sure if you are going to get any sort of niggles and that kind of thing, that's also sorted. What I'll be taking, I'll start with some food. Basically, when you're up there, what I did is we're going to actually do a full episode on the nutrition. So if you want to know a bit more about the nutrition, check the next episode. But this, what I did to actually for this challenge, I actually went up to there's actually a crash site near my house in Glossop in Manchester, which actually is a 600 meters elevation. I took that data and I've actually preempted this off that because it's actually real time. It was hot. I was carrying a bag. I was carrying my boy, not carrying my wife. And actually, I burnt 1,500 calories in just under in 4 and a bit hours. So I'm basically looking at 350 calories per hour. Thinking about it that way when I'm on the hoof. For me on the mountain, it's about convenience. Again, without all the kit. Shout out to Real Meal. We use those generally speaking for our ultra marathons and that kind of thing. But I will be going through 4 or 5 of those over the course. Again, I've sort of prepped for 3 different pieces of the mountain. Apples to stay fresh. Pink ladies, they're the goat. Obviously, the government, Tesco's rinse you for them. Some other things that I'll be taking with me. As I said, I've got real meals already prepped, just in case. The others are for my wife. I'm actually taking some roasted cashews, which are mega. I'm also taking some raisins just because the boy had them left here, a saurine, and then I'll be having protein oats in the car. Other pieces of the puzzle to think about when you are up on the mountain, again, is when I talk about a slow puncture, nutrition and fueling is probably the next piece of the puzzle when it comes down to that. Most people forget hydration. I'm using Human 24. Their hydrate complex is 1,000 milligrams of sodium in there. One of those per piece of the puzzle. I will actually also be using some of this. Now, you'll be looking at me going, this is what you should be using for an Ironman or a triathlon. You want to try and stay topped up. When you are underhydrated, it's gone way too far. When you are underfueled, to get back to being fueled is actually quite difficult to do once you've reached that bottom piece. Something for you to think about there. And I'll be using a 2-litre bladder inside of this bag. Okay, as I said, I'll do a bit of a deeper dive into the reasons behind I'm using all this kind of kit whilst in the next video. Start from my right, go to the left. Hat, obviously for the sun. We've obviously got a built for pleasure flag because built for pleasure flag. That's a different video. Built for pleasure flag. Electronics are going to be key. Again, giving you a behind the curtain. Obviously, we've got Mr. Sam Lindley behind the camera right now, but I'll be helping him out. So we've actually got a drone because it looks mega up there, and obviously, fingers crossed, if the sun's out like it should be, those should be absolutely incredible. That, and we've also got a gimbal, which is somewhere. Battery pack, I bought this especially. This is quite an industrial one. Lots of kit to charge, and you're better off having something on you to make sure. Now, scaling a mountain for obvious reasons. A head torch. I'm using the Silver Trail Runner 3. I've actually ordered some I used to use batteries, but I've actually got a rechargeable battery coming today just because it's beneficial. Now, just a little caveat, what I do is I actually use 2. So I've got 2 just in case, because I'd rather be on there and have more than I need than actually being getting up there. I've had this on a trail run before, running in the dark, thinking I was a clever bloke, and then my light switched off and I was an hour away from home, and that's a different ball game, especially on that mountain. As I said, the small things matter when you're on when you're sort of. I never use the term in the UK, the wilderness in the UK, but in the UK countryside, it's still a bit challenging. I've actually got a penknife. This is what I'll be doing. Again, not for protection. Again, just in case, whether you one of those sort of tools that you probably don't need, but if you do need it, you wish that you had it. So have that in my back pocket. Sunglasses, standard procedure, sun protection. I've got, this is the Osmo 3. Again, we're using that. We're going to do a little bit of media stuff with it. Sun cream, essential. Again, too many British people forget that the sun is actually pretty dangerous in the UK. Factor 50 always. I don't see any point in anything less. And this, those that know that have watched my running videos, this is the key. When you've got big legs like me, chub rub is the biggest killer of any happiness you're ever going to have. So just in case from that. Now, kit-wise, now because as I mentioned, it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad in relation to like shifts of weather. It can happen though. So you want to prepare like it can go wrong, i.e. the weather can shift from being absolutely roasting to horrific sideways wind. Ben Nevis currently, there have been reports that it's been 0 to 4 degrees on top and it has been 15 degrees at the bottom. Scarfell a little bit different. It's looking to be about 10 to 15 degrees at night, and then Snowdon's looking to be about 26 degrees in the day. So it's going to be a bit of a everything else. I'll just start right to the left. Waterproof trousers. You got the Innovate trail running ones. You obviously use walking ones, but these I found were absolutely incredible when I was in the Lake District for the Ultra, and they actually pack down. Again, you don't want to be taking like big bulky kit because it's just so annoying. An insulated jacket, again packable. Will I need it? Probably not, but I'd rather have it than not. A waterproof. I'm using the Through Duck Agis jacket. Again, it's one of those things where you spend money once, and also I've been in positions on the mountain before where I've just worn like a normal jacket. If you haven't got a Gore-Tex jacket, the issue is when you're up there for 4 hours, you will get wet. Whereas if you spend some money on a really nice jacket, you're going to keep it forever, and vice versa. Being wet is horrible when you're up there. It means your experience up there is just a lot worse. I've got a Mammut mid-layer. This is Polartec. This will keep me warm if I need it. I'm also taking 2 pieces of the puzzle that are, I'm probably going to wear both. Walking shorts and also walking trousers. I'll start in trousers because Nevis is going to be worse. Again, more to the point of, especially in Scotland, you've got midges. I'm going to think my headspace is going that I'd rather have my legs covered if I'm going to be in a place full of midges, and it's actually not going to be as warm compared to Snowdon. I'm not going to be full British tourist and be with my top off and walking there in my boxers, but I will be wearing shorts. Also, I've got I've bought three changes of clothes because again, these are key and people forget this. A spare boxers. If you're a geezer, if you're a bird, obviously you can wear. If you're a geezer wearing a thong, that's up to you. But females wear your different underwear because if you're sweating, you're literally sweating your ass off when you're up on there and then you're traveling 6 hours. Being in sweaty kit is going to give you chafe. That's super detailed, but I promise you there's some wrong with people that will do that. 1, 2, it's just about being comfortable. T-shirts wise, I've actually got ones that are very breathable. So I've got a Solomon one, which is a running one. I've actually got an Arc'teryx one, and I've got a Jotman one that I got. The sales are brilliant at the moment, but they're breathable. The thing about just wearing just cotton is when you get sweaty, it will stay wet. You want something that's going to get rid of that water so you don't get cold. I've got walking shoes. These are actually winter walking shoes because I'm a big fan of Vivo. We'll shout out to them just because of the big toe box, but vice versa. My summer ones are absolutely smashed, if I'm being honest. So I usually would wear a lighter pair of walking shoes, but they are what they are. And I've also got, which I'm 50-50 one at the moment, which you can have, is a windproof jacket. Again, do I need it? I'm in 2 minds. I've got it currently with my kit. But to be honest, I'm probably not actually going to take this now because of the way the weather is. If the weather was a bit shifty, I would probably start in this and then have my waterproof for afterwards, but you can just use both. Other little pieces of detail that I've got waterproof bags to put all my kit in. When you're in your bag, this bag, I'm using an Osprey Volt 45. This bag has actually got a built-in waterproof bag that goes over the top. But you know what it's like is you never know. So I always put my stuff into not only to waterproof bags to keep them waterproof, but more so I can find my gear. I know which bag's got what in, rather than just, I see so many people just lobbing their gear in there and then you have to get on the mountain, take it all out and put it all back in again. Whereas if you've got 4 or 5 bags, you can just pull them out, just like you pack in a suitcase. And lastly, well, we've got a drone in the corner somewhere. Here we go. We've got a drone, mentioned that before. Lastly, this one is for obvious reasons. I've got Dukas, i.e. swim shorts, and a towel because I am that guy that wants to get into a pond whenever I can, and actually next to Llanberis is an amazing lake that we'll be getting in. If we can get on one on Nevis. I've never actually been to Nevis doing this particular piece, so it's going to be an interesting journey for us. So anyway, last one, obviously, standard procedure. Somewhere to put your coffee and mug as well. Very beneficial. Others can take a jet boil and all that kind of stuff. We haven't. I'm a bit old school, and we're trying to do this quick and do it with speed. So I'm not going to be sat there making coffees and flapping about. I'd rather just have a brew in there, get on, and then move. That's my kit. That's what I'll be taking. Next video, I'm going to do a bit of a deeper dive in relation to why and what nutrition and what's the point of it, and why I'm using a mixture of carbs and fats, not just carbohydrates, or what protein, or all that kind of cool stuff. I'll be doing that in the next video, just because if you're a geek and you'd like to learn more, you can check the next episode. So anyway, I digress. I'll let you know how we go, and I'll catch you soon.